Today we are standing in an area where during my whitetail workshops we come to this little saddle setup area. Basically I have 3 different setups here. They're all really low to the ground because I allow people to get in them and I don't want anybody to fall very far and get hurt for liability reasons. But anyway, I'm going to show you the 3 different trees and the setups. This first tree is the way I prepare trees when I'm on private ground and the property owner allows me to use spikes. So this first one, I've got spikes in it all the way around. Now normally I just use single spikes, and these are 3/8 diameter by 10 inches long. So normally I use single spikes because I only weigh 155 pounds. But I doubled these up because I'm going to have guys here that are probably going to be pushing 250. So I doubled these up just to make sure they'll support them, because on a single spike it definitely would bend. And this is my modified ESS. Seen it on a lot of videos, I'm sure, a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of mine anyway. And to put it on, I just step into it. And again, this is a modified ESS. This isn't a stock ESS. This is a modified. That's how fast it goes on. And if anybody wants to know where they can get a modified ESS, I have an Amish guy in Michigan that makes them. Shoot me an email and I'll give you his phone number. Anyway, a lot of times I don't use a lineman rope to go up the tree if it's real easy to climb, which obviously this is because it's right here. It's all I'm going. So I climb the tree, and I also, a lot of times, depending on the diameter of the tree, I'll put in these screw-in steps to grab hold of while I'm climbing up the tree, just like I'm continuing to climb. And then once I get up at the top, I just pull my tether out, put it over that spike there that's down at a pretty severe angle, slide that down, and I'm ready. That's how long it takes. What was that? Once I was on my steps, maybe 30 seconds max. And I usually like to sit about like this. I like to have my knees somewhat straddling the tree. That way it keeps my body profile close to the tree so I don't get picked. And I usually like my bow right here, a quick 90 degrees on my strong side. Now I do have a bow rope here just to show the attendees at the workshop, but usually once I pull my bow up on my bow rope, I take this rope off and then put my bow on that bow holder. And then I take off my quiver and I hook it to this quiver adapter that screws into the tree. So it's out of my way, but it's an easy reach if I need another arrow, which I never ever have. But then once I'm in the tree, I fold those steps up so they're not sticking out. So if I'm sitting here, typically when I set up, I try to set up in my tree where the destination, where I expect the shot to be, is going to be 180 degrees on the opposite side of the tree from where I'm sitting. This is the 6 o'clock position. That's the 12 o'clock. This is 90 degrees to my left. This is the 9 o'clock. My backpack is typically going to be over here about 120 degrees. So it's out of the way if I move 90 degrees to my right, yet it's still easy to reach. Being 120 degrees, I can still easily reach into my backpack to get whatever gear I need during a hunt, grunt call, whatever the case may be. Change my clothes during a hunt. So I like to do this more in the sitting position like this. It's extremely comfortable. I always keep my body either straight up in line with the trunk or leaning forward. If I get here early in the morning, I'll let out a little bit of lead, take these panels, pull one up in my back, and I'll sit here like this and I'll go to sleep. Because I am usually in my tree an hour to an hour and a half before daylight, depending on the time of year and the location. And so I'll sleep for an hour or so just before it starts to, break dawn. And to do that, it's real easy. You just do that. I like to put my arms around this system here, because a lot of times when you fall asleep, you do the little jerky thing, and this will keep you from sliding to the side. So, and then I just rest my head on my lead strap. And this is kind of cool with this lead strap because it's flat, gives you something nice to lean against. And then when it starts breaking dawn, slide this back down to where they're just slightly overlapped, and then I'll adjust my drape however I want. Once in a while during an all-day sit, I may adjust my drape so I'm in the standing position a little bit just to change the comfort of on my feet or on my butt. But generally I'm in this somewhat sitting position. So I'm looking during the hunt, you know, whether it's an oak over there or an apple tree or a primary scrape area, I'm sitting here just peeking. If I see deer coming in and they're there, and they may be there for 10 minutes to a half an hour, multiple deer, eating, or whatever the case may be, and if they are eating acorns or eating apples, you know, they pick up whatever they're going to eat, and they lift their head back up, and they're looking around, their ears are twitching. So being on the 180 degrees on the back side of the tree, you're not going to get picked like you would be if you're in a tree stand over here on the side where you have to be to take a shot to that position. Because if you're in a tree stand on this side of the tree 180 degrees so you don't get seen, you can't even see what's going on because you're facing the other direction, and then you also can't shoot to that side of the tree very well. So I'm sitting like this, and then if I see something and I want to shoot it, I just reach up here and grab my bow, move a step to one side, and just reach around and shoot. Now let's say I'm sitting here, because from here I can easily move one step and shoot that way. I can obviously shoot anything in here, and I can shoot easily to my 6 o'clock and actually even to my 5 o'clock. So if something comes in over on to my weak side, which is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over into this area, what I'm going to do is I'm going to see that coming to fruition, whatever that situation is, and I'm going to take my bow, move a step over here, put my bow on this hanger here, and then I'm going to keep this tree, as that deer's coming in, I'm going to keep this tree between me and the deer to keep my body hidden behind the tree. I might let out a little bit of lead, but then if, let's say, the deer's over here at the 4 o'clock position, which is over here, which would be a very difficult shot from this position, you got to come over like that. You always want to try and make a strong side shot. So if the deer's going to be over here at the 3 or 4 o'clock position, I'm going to move around my steps, get like this, stay, keep the tree as a buffer, hiding buffer, and when my shot opportunity comes, I'm just going to lean around to the side and take the shot. Now if I wanted, I could go around the tree in this direction as well. So that's the cool thing about steps. If you got a ring of steps, you can move around the tree any direction you want and not worry about getting picked. So this is again, this is a private property setup only, because obviously you can't put spikes in trees on public land, or screw in steps, or even that quiver holder, because that's a screw in item as well. Okay, so this is the last setup of the 3 that I show at the workshop this weekend. And this one here is a hybrid. So we've got a set of strap-on Bowman steps here. I think I've got 7 on this tree, and these are my preference. And again, if you use the discount code BOWHUNT, you get a 10% discount on anything you buy off the Bowman Outdoors website. But I really like these steps because they don't have a side platform on over here. Because I have found with some of the steps, strap-ons that have a side piece, if you rub a good rubber boot with a high content of rubber on that piece, it makes a squeak like on a basketball court. So with these, all you're touching is the sole of your boot. The side is the tree, so you never get a squeak on the side. So these are the Bowman Ring of Platform steps. So this is for public land, and then these are screw-in steps. Obviously you can't use these on public. So I'm going to wrap the lineman rope around here. Hook it to my lineman loop. Now on this I also used some steps here just to keep climbing up the tree. This one's just to kind of show how easy it is to use a strap-on ring of steps. Reach your hand, again this girth hitch, reach your hand through the loop, grab the rope, pull it through, and then take your gear, your rope man, and your other carabiner, and then pull this snug. Now, I like to have mine at about eye to nose level, so that's just about right. Snug that up. Put this carabiner to your bridge. Pull this up until it starts to support. Pull this up till it starts to support a little of your weight. Then you can disattach your lineman rope. And typically I'd put this in my backpack, but since I'm 4 feet off the ground, I'm going to throw it on the ground. Then on my ESS Modified, I just loosen that, loosen up my adjustment strap, slide it under my butt, kind of rig it how I want it, and now I'm hunting. And again, with this rope man, it's super easy to adjust your drape. You know, you can adjust your drape in 3 seconds. So if you want to move around the tree, it's real easy. Move around the tree on your steps. I've got little slip-ons on, so they don't work too good. But you can see how easy it is, and they're dead quiet. You almost have to have a ratchet strap. You can't use one of those little pull-tight straps because the steps will be loose and they'll sag. They'll make noise when you step on them because they'll move a little bit and scratch the bark and make a little clicking noise on breaking off pieces of bark. So you have to have a ratchet strap, and you got to put them on tight. And Bullman sells these on ratchet straps, so that's the only way you can get them from Bullman. And then again, I'd have my bow right here on this side. So bow would be right there, quiver would be up here. I'd have another bow holder on the back side so I could move my bow over if I wanted to swing around and shoot to that position over here. But typically, again, I'll show how I normally like to sit. I like to sit about like that, like I'm sitting, almost like I'm sitting in a chair. My knees are not 90 degrees, but I'm probably at about 35 degrees here, be my guess. And my legs are somewhat straddling the tree. My knees are not into the facing of the tree. I'm just barely touching the side. And when you sit in this position, most of your weight's in your butt. So your feet aren't getting sore. A lot of guys complain about their feet sore because they're in this position all the time. Well, if you're in this position all the time, you're putting most of your weight on your feet, not much in your butt. This saddle has a seat because it's designed to sit in. So you lower this down and you put your weight in your butt. That way your feet never get sore. And if you do happen to, your butt gets sore for some odd reason, just change your drape a little bit and it takes care of that. Or with an ESS, you can change how you sit in your seat. You can overlap it more. You can pull it up more, get a little more lower back support. You can do whatever you want, and it only takes a couple seconds. This is what I do at my workshops after the shop is over. This is like a 4 o'clock to 7 o'clock deal. And I have these guys come in and they try different saddles and get up on the platforms or the rings and steps just to give them an idea of what saddle hunting is. Because a lot of guys come here and they've never been in a saddle. A lot of advantages of hunting out of a saddle over a tree stand. You got 360. You hunt every tree with the same saddle for the rest of your life. You can buy one set of sticks and you can use those sticks on every tree you hunt for the rest of your life. You don't have to have multiple stands for however many trees you've got. You can wear it into wherever you're hunting. You don't have a cumbersome stand on the back, a cumbersome frame if you're busting through brush on a DIY hunt. It's safe. It's the safest thing you can get because you're tethered to the tree from the moment you leave the ground until you put your feet back on the ground. You can hide behind the tree so deer can't see you. You can move around the tree, keep hidden behind the tree. Just lots and lots of advantages of a saddle. And I've been doing it since 1981, and it's definitely, without question, helped me kill a lot more deer that if I'd been hunting out of a tree stand, I wouldn't have killed. I wouldn't even have been able to hunt out of the trees. Because some of the trees, like if you're hunting a leaning tree or up just in a crotch area, you can't set up a tree stand. So this saddle also opens up a lot more trees that you can hunt from over a tree stand. A lot of the guys that hunt out of platforms will actually stand on the platform like this. Now I want you to think for a moment and think about why I would rather be like this than I would rather be like this. It should be a pretty simple thought process. So when you're standing on the edge of a platform, I don't care whose it is, your feet are always in front of the tree. So your toes, worst case scenario, are going to be touching the tree. Because a lot of sticks that you purchase nowadays, the actual stick will have a little platform on the top. So you're either going to have your feet on probably 4 or 5 inches away from the tree on the front edge of the little platform, or your toes are going to be touching the tree on the front of your boots. So either way, you're going to be something like this, or you're going to be something like this. My toes are touching the tree, or if you're using a ring, you're going to be something like this. So when the foliage is down, your body profile, the closer it is to the tree, the easier it is to get away with not getting picked. So I always like to tell people things that I think will make them more successful. And to me, having my body this far away from the tree, when I'm hunting in a pressured state, pressured area, public land, and there's a lot of public lands in a lot of states where they're not pressured like the best private ground is in states like Michigan and PA. But when you have your body this far away from the tree and then you got to make a movement, let's say you want to shoot to the other side over there, I've watched guys where they actually will they don't even put steps on the back side of the tree, and they'll put their foot against this corner of the platform and then put their other foot against it and put their knee in, and they'll make movements like this, which is kind of a balancing thing. You're kind of having to balance your weight, or they'll do this and let their bodies just fall over to the side where you don't have any control. You have no control over your body movements. From a platform, in my personal opinion, you're more apt to get picked out of a platform. And the guys that I have seen that have done that swinging around, basically where they stand on a platform to take a shot over here, I would assume they stand up like this and they move around the tree like this so that they can shoot over here. And again, to me, you're keeping your body on the same side of the tree as the deer. Anytime you keep your body on the same side of the tree as the deer you're trying to shoot and you're making movements, you're going to be more apt to get picked. All depends on how smart the deer are that you're hunting. Obviously, if you watch TV, guys, you can get away with murder. So that is just kind of proof that certain areas and situations you can get away with murder where other areas you can't. You make a lot more movements with a platform. Obviously, if you're on a platform and everything's going to be perfect, you know, to me, when I'm setting up in a tree, whether it's a ring of steps or anything, most people set up where the camera is going to be their shot if they're right-handed, 90 degrees to your left, because that's just the natural thing. I personally don't like that because that still somewhat keeps my body on the same side of the tree as the deer. So when I set up a tree, I always try to set it up where I got the tree as a buffer, you know, and my shots are going to be back into here, where I can easily hide behind the tree like this for that shot, and then when it happens, I just, you know, take that shot, or back over there where I can just move around on my ring and take that shot while the tree was always a buffer. I'm not making a lot of movements behind the tree that the deer can see. But the platform's awesome. The Predator platform's awesome. It's very lightweight. I think it weighs about 2 pounds. It'll basically fold up and fit in most backpacks. So it's a great freelancing item. And if you have any questions, anytime you're watching anything on Eberhart Outdoors YouTube videos, please don't be shy to send me a question. With a saddle, I don't think there's any hunting situation I have never seen, and I don't think there's a whole lot of hunting scenarios, you know, out in the woods that I haven't seen. You know, whether you're hunting ag or big timber, swamps, bedding areas, hill country. I've pretty much hunted every place. I've hunted states like Kansas and Iowa that are, you know, where the deer are not even remotely as close to being as smart, or it's difficult to kill, I should say, as they are in states like Michigan and PA and West Virginia and up in the Northeast. So I've hunted in a lot of different areas and a lot of different scenarios, and so typically when I say something against like against the TV guys, it's because I've never hunted a spot as good as a TV guy hunts on, like a Drury or a Kiski or a, you know, Lee and Tiffany. I've never hunted any micromanaged areas, but I've hunted in Kansas, and even the private grounds or the public lands that I've gotten to hunt out there are far superior to any private ground I've ever hunted in Michigan. You know, I've seen as many as 15 Pope and Young bucks in 1 week, different Pope and Young bucks in a week in Kansas. So areas are different, and so when I mention one thing that's going to keep you from getting busted or picked, there's a reason for that, and again, it depends on the type of area you're hunting in. So again, send in any questions, and I think that's it for now. Good hunting. Hope you kill something big this fall.